We're stopping by Supergiant Games here at PAX East 2017, and it's been pretty much exactly 1 year since you announced this game, Pyre. You're bringing it back here. For those unfamiliar, how would you describe Pyre in sort of a quick elevator pitch style?
So Pyre is a party-based RPG where you lead a band of exiles to freedom from a mystical purgatory. It's by the team that made Bastion and Transistor, two of our previous games, and we're all sticking together on this one.
It's pretty cool because just by looking at it, maybe you wouldn't realize that, oh, this is a Supergiant game, but as soon as you put the headphones on, oh, it's a Supergiant game. Because it's got that, the music's got that feel to it, you get right into it, the narration, everything sort of just comes across as one of your games.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, it's one of the most flattering things that people say is that they can still tell it's us, even though we're trying something pretty new and different with this game. And you know, it's a party-based RPG, so it has a larger cast of characters that you can get closer to, and that even translates into the gameplay where you're controlling multiple characters in these mystical competitions. And still, with all that change, and it's not another isometric action RPG, people are still sort of allowing us to do this and are excited by it. So that part has been really good.
Also, that feeling that maybe there's a lot more to this sort of seemingly simple premise. That lurks beneath the surface there.
Yeah, no, we always want to make these rich game worlds that are filled with mystery and with questions. And our creative director, Greg, who works on this game, I think he's done an amazing job at creating a new world here that has a lot of sort of lore that you can dive into if you're interested in figuring out more about this world and the characters in it.
All right, so in terms of the gameplay, you say party-based RPG, but it's like nothing I've played before in terms of a party-based RPG.
Yeah.
I can see that there's almost like a sports, if you will, dodgeball or something like that element to it. What's gone into creating that, and what do you want to achieve with it?
Yeah, so it all comes back to us for doing a game that had a larger cast of characters, and that translates into the ritual gameplay you're referring to as well. So it's like an ancient competition where these two teams of three face off, and the more that you prevail, the closer you get to a chance to actually liberate one of these exiles. So the party-based RPG part is where you manage your group, where you pick who's going to play, where you interact with your characters, where you deal with the economy of the world and make decisions on basically the overmap. When you get to these match sites, it's a more high-intense competitive experience. You pick the three exiles that you're going to play with, and then you have to manage them in real time by grasping the orb that's on the field and dousing the opponent's pyre enough times until it's completely extinguished. So the gameplay there, people have said it's sort of like has some sort of sport elements, but it's really like we look at it like our battle system. You know, it's how do you resolve these mystical competitions by sort of positioning your guys right and using skill-based sort of shots and casting and throwing to finally extinguish the rival pyre.
Because there's a lot of tactical decisions that goes into it. You get different amount of points depending on who's scoring, if you're throwing it or if you're jumping in with. So you got a lot of different tactical choices there. Do you want to go with the speedy guy, maybe not get that many points, and how do you sort of evolve those characters to take, you know, to maybe specialize them or to make them sort of jack of all trades?
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of the party-based RPG part too, is that the exiles that actually get to participate in the rite also get enlightenment, and that levels them up essentially. When they gain enough enlightenment, they level up and they can choose these masteries that specialize them maybe more offensively or defensively and basically allow you to express the characters in different ways with unique play styles. That's always been an important part of our games, is like being able to customize your experience in some way, even in Bastion and Transistor. And here it's super cool because you get to do that per character, and you have a bunch of them. So you can kind of pick and choose how you want to mold them based on how you like to play with them.
It's a very interesting dynamic also, that fact that you can't touch, if you have the ball, you can't touch your opponent because then you get taken out of it. So it's this very interesting dynamic of sort of trying to make sure that you stay away from that, take care, position yourself, but at the same time, if there's an opening, you got to make that rush.
Make the most of it, right? Yeah, so for us, that's been part of the joy of this game is the push and pull that happens over the course of a single round where you're trying to actually douse the opponent's pyre. You know, there's different strategies that emerge. You can try and banish all the rivals, but then you've got to march the orb all the way down the field. You can try and move the orb up slowly and get your guys into position, and or you can just, some of the people on the team, they just fastest guy, grab the orb, run it in, see and try their luck that way. And so for us, watching all these different strategies emerge, and even here at PAX where we're showing the head-to-head mode, which is the local multiplayer mode that we'll have on PlayStation 4 and Steam, even watching new strategies emerge here, because we've been playing the game ourselves for like a year, year and a half or more, and it's cool to watch how other people sort of interpret the rules and do stuff with it.
Yeah, it is interesting but you cannot sort of have one strategy though, because once you score with that character, he gets taken out of it. So you gotta mix it up.
Yeah, you have to mix it up, and that's part of the fun of it too. Is if you do douse the Pyre by jumping into it, that character is unavailable for the subsequent round, and you're down a man. Basically, got to make do with two. And so a different set of strategies emerge when you're down. You have to play a little bit more conservatively, but some people still play aggressively and try and make it work. It's just, how well can you coordinate the two exiles and manage your own stamina and all that kind of stuff during the course of a single round.
Because it's not a tremendous disadvantage to only have two, right? It's like potentially, because you only need one, really.
Yeah, exactly, because you only control one guy at a time, because only one of them is permitted to move at a time by the rules of the ritual. You can make do with just one guy. I mean, all you need, like you said, is one to score. When you're really screwed is when you have none, is when they all get banished, and then you're just by yourself there, watching the countdown timers and waiting to come back. But as long as you have one guy, you're still in it.
So, I mean, obviously, I've just tried 2 of those rituals.
Yeah.
How much variation can you add? Because the basic concept, does that remain the same throughout the game? And then you just mix it up with different layouts and different rules? Or?
Yeah, so the ritual gameplay evolves through the course of the game. Not just from the exiles you get, but from the exiles that you're up against, and the kind of different strategies and different masteries they come and bring to the table. There's also a bunch of these different sites where you actually where these rituals take place, and each of them start to evolve their own unique rules and sort of favor certain strategies or might cause you to choose certain exiles or not want to choose certain exiles for that particular rite. So there's a lot of evolution there, and there's other things we do as well to try and make the campaign a really unique experience.
So you mentioned that maybe there's just one exile that you can liberate, and is that sort of something that caters to multiple playthroughs and sort of exploring different parts of the narrative through that?
Yeah. So the big thing here is the most enlightened exiles are the ones who are able to potentially meet their liberation, and you will have to make some hard decisions over the course of this game over who gets to actually participate in these rites, and then eventually who might go free. And that's part of the core aspect of the game that we're really excited about. But unlike certain games where when you meet a setback and then maybe you might load your last save, Pyre is completely tolerant of your ability to not prevail in a rite and keep playing. The story moves forward and everything moves forward, and in a lot of ways you can learn as much from failure as you can from a victory. So it was important for us to try and make sure that we had a game that always kept moving no matter what was happening in these rites and rituals. And like you're saying, it may lend itself to replayability, but what we hope most is that it feels like a personal story for you, and how you got through it, who you used, and what big decisions you made with those characters over the course of the campaign.
You also have some dialogues and dialogue choices in there. How does that sort of factor into that?
That's part of also, making a larger cast of characters you can get closer to, is that we wanted you to actually be able to spend some time with them and have dialogue with them and basically learn about them, learn about the things that are important to them. For example, why were they cast out of the Commonwealth and sent to the downside? Everyone there is, in theory, is guilty of some crime or was found guilty of some crime that caused them to be exiled to this place where they're trying to get out of. So there's a lot to learn about where they came from, what brought them here, why they want to be free. All of these questions that, if you're interested, you can reach for those answers by spending some time with those characters.
So in terms of the versus mode, is that something where you have all the characters upgraded and unlocked, or is this something that you'll progress through as well? Or
Yeah, so for the versus mode, it basically takes the characters from the campaign that you've met and allows you to play with them against a friend. You can put together your own triumvirate with the characters that maybe spoke to you the most or you're just the best with, and challenge a friend on the same machine or same PlayStation 4. And so the purpose of that is really, it's almost like influenced and inspired by some of the multiplayer games that we loved, like StarCraft or Command & Conquer or something, where you would like play the whole campaign first because you really wanted to understand the units and like the hero characters and all that kind of stuff, and then extend the play. And so for us, it was just sort of like an extension of something that we had already grown to love and like, which is these characters that we've been making for a really long time and we really love. And we thought it would be great if you could sort of extend your own experience by playing it against someone else.
It's an interesting multiplayer because I can imagine that the skill gap is quite wide between someone who really masters the game and someone who's just beginning, which is sort of core to a great multiplayer experience.
Yeah. I mean, we see that on the team, and we see that here at PAX. Certainly, people who have played it more and know more of the nuances of how the different characters operate, maybe they even start to have like a more intuitive understanding of, well, how far can I sprint before I run out of stamina, and these kinds of things, which when you play the campaign, you'll also get a hang of. It certainly helps to be familiar with it. That said, we've certainly had close matches here against people who haven't played the game for very long. So if you come into the game with a lot of manual skill and a good tactical sense and strategic sense, you're probably going to be able to use those skills and apply them to Pyre.
Interesting. So what's the roadmap ahead with Pyre? Are you closing in on release? Or?
Yeah, we're getting closer. Pyre is coming out later this year on PlayStation 4 and on Steam. We don't know the exact time yet, but we're getting warmer, and most of the team is back home right now, working on it and cranking away on it, and we're feeling really good about shipping this year.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was awesome. Thank you for coming by.